Alright, I'm going to be picking up stitches around the armhole of my Davis sweater here. This is my armhole, and to make this a little bit easier to work, I'm going to divide the armhole in quadrants here, just so that the total number of stitches I pick up in each quadrant is a little bit more manageable and helps me to plan out how many stitches I need to pick up. So I have a definite point here and here at the bottom and the top of the armhole. So I'm just going to bring those together to find the middle of the front and back armhole, and I'll mark those with a little removable stitch marker. When I begin picking up stitches, I'm going to start at the bottom of the armhole here. We want the right side of the fabric facing us. And I'm using my smaller circular needle, or perhaps the double points here. And what I'm going to be doing is picking up around this edge, but I want to find the edge here where I can pick up kind of along the same bit of knit stitches all the way around the armhole so that it looks even. So it looks like in between these two knit stitches is where I'm going to be picking up my stitches here on the back. Kind of follow that around the top of the armhole here. So that it looks seamless around the armhole. I've got 2 rows of knit stitches. Here's a V, there's a V. I'm going to be picking up in the middle of that. Alright, so I'm not going to pick up in the latter of the 2 stitches here. I want my first pickup and my last pickup to be just on the outside so that it pulls those ladders together. So I'm going to start here, just on the outside of that. Sticking my needle through. You want to make sure you have a few strands of yarn there to make sure you have a nice stable edge to your armhole. And I'm going to bring my yarn through. That's 1 stitch. Now, depending on the number of stitches that you have to pick up all the way around your armhole, according to my size, I'm going to do approximately 11 stitches within this quadrant. On 2 of my quadrants, I need to do 12 to get the final proper number of stitches that I'm meant to pick up for my sleeve. So oftentimes you'll be picking up in each round of stitches every 3 rows, and then you'll skip a row. So here is 1 row. I'm going to do the 2nd row. And that count may or may not work out. It's more important that you have the right number of stitches at the end and that they're pretty evenly spaced. 2, 3, I'm going to skip 1, skip that one, I'll go into this one. The next one, next one. Skip this one, go into the next one. I'm getting close to my marker here, so I'm going to kind of check my count here. 2, 4, 6. So I think maybe for this I'm going to come back and not skip this one. It looks like kind of a large gap in between there, so So I'm going to pull this out and go back. And I'll often do that, kind of take a look every so often and decide if I need to pull back a little bit and reset something. The 11 I needed in my first section. So now I'm going to move on to my next section here. It can be nice to use a marker to kind of mark. It'll make it easier for you to count, knowing that you have whatever your count is here, whatever the count will be in the next quadrant. I use a marker to kind of make it easier for me to count without having to count everything all over again. I think in this section I'm going to do my 12. Reached the top of my shoulder, and here is where I worked my 3-needle bind off earlier, and I like to work one of my stitches into that, one of my pickups. I'm going to do that here, and then I should have 12. Okay, then I'm going to move on. I've got my next quadrant here, and then my final quadrant down at the bottom. When I get back to the bottom here, I will place a marker, a beginning round marker, and then I'll continue working around all of my stitches in the round. And when you're starting your sleeve, you're going to be working 6 inches before you start decreasing. And that will be in the next video coming up.